you're with us today. Marcus Spears, Andrew Hawkins, Dan Graziano with you for the hour. There's a lot to get to, y'all. I was about to say, are we doing something different than the wave, but then you did the wave, so it's okay.
No, you're all right. I've been throwing deuces.
You were just doing deuces.
You know, I'm all over the place. My bad.
Hey, listen, you do whatever you want. We'll tell you why later. That's a big tease for the end of the show. All right, some news to start us off, though. Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice is scheduled to have his disciplinary hearing with the NFL on September 30th in New York City, sources told our Adam Schefter. Rice is now likely to be able to play the first 4 weeks of the season before any potential discipline is imposed for his role in a multi-car crash that left multiple people injured during the 2024 offseason. Now, if you take a look at the Chiefs' early schedule, right, with this news in mind, in the first 10 weeks, they faced 6 playoff teams from last season and 3 teams that failed to reach 5 wins. They opened the season in Brazil against the Chargers and then play 5 of their next 8 games in Kansas City. ESPN Analytics has the Chiefs winning 8 of those first 9 games, with their 1 loss coming in Buffalo. Graz, what more can you tell us about the timing of this hearing for Rashee Rice?
So, Laura, what usually happens in cases like this is the player with the union and the league will sort of negotiate. The league will say, here's what we have in mind for discipline, and then there'll be a conversation and they might settle on something. In this case, those conversations took place, but they didn't reach an agreement. So what Rashee Rice effectively is saying is, I'd rather go to a hearing. The hearing officer is Sue L. Robinson. She is the independent arbitrator that was agreed to in the last CBA. She's heard one other case since she assumed this role, and it was the Deshaun Watson case in 2022. So my understanding is the hearing scheduled for September 30th because that's when it fit into her schedule. Now, if you look ahead and if you look back, in fact, to 2022, the hearing was at the end of June. Her ruling was issued on August 1st. She imposed a 6-game suspension on Deshaun Watson that the league then appealed because they wanted a longer one. And then about 2 weeks later, the league and union settled on an 11-game suspension. So this is the kind of thing now that could hang over the back half of the Chiefs season with uncertainty in terms of when the suspension could start and how long it could be.
It's fascinating context and really instructive in what we might see here. Hawk, as it relates to what Rashee Rice brings to this team, it seems like the Chiefs will have Rice for at least the first 4 games of the season. What does his skill set add to this offense?
It adds a Kelsey Mahomes variant of chemistry to the receiving core, because what makes Rashee Rice special, and has been a special since he's been a rookie, is that he sees and feels the defense the same way that Patrick Mahomes does. So when they've had issues, especially early in his career, he's helped fill some of that void that is left by Kelsey, who is 35 years old, still one of the top tight ends in the league, but he might be a little slower getting to those windows. So having Rashee Rice in the lineup with Kelsey, with some of that speed of Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, really makes it feel like a complete package as it pertains to the passing game.
Yeah, Hawk, you mentioned his ability to read like Patrick Mahomes, but his run after catch as well was something that was starting to come to a head. They were able to get him the ball in quick game, and he can go make plays. The fortunate part in this unfortunate situation is that they got a lot of experience for Xavier Worthy last year. And he became a guy more in depth to the route tree, Hawk. You would know more than me, as opposed to just being a straight line guy. And then the creativity of Andy Reid as well to get guys in favorable situations. But make no mistake about it, this is going to be a tough year for the Kansas City Chiefs, not because they won't be good, because other teams have been spending time and money and office visits to try to figure out how to get over the hump. The Bills in particular, the Ravens in particular. So they need to have that type of rapport going. But to Graz's point as well, it's still so much unknown. So I think the Chiefs have to operate like they won't have Rashee Rice. They have to operate like he won't be available at any point during the season, just in case if it comes at a time where you're playing those critical games and he's not available for you.
And you showed, Laura, those first 10 games of the season. In no part of that did you see the Denver Broncos. Those games are in the back half of the season. That they were only 2 division games in that first 10. So if they're missing him for the second half of the season, that could be potentially significant. I think, if you're the Chiefs, you probably would have rather had the suspension at the start of the season, know when it was going to end, and be able to move on from there.
Yeah, obviously they can't control that. It's to the mercy of the judge's schedule.
Right.
But yeah, the back half of the season looks foreboding. All right, to more big news. Micah Parsons still doesn't have a new deal as the Cowboys and their star player continue to get further away from common ground. Seemingly, the drama continues with America's team. And here's Jerry Jones yesterday on what is preventing him and Micah from talking.
Nothing.
So why don't you talk?
Again, nothing would be that, and we might or might not talk. And the rest of that gets in what we do every day.
You think that talks would pick up a little bit with him?
I don't know that necessarily talks will, but we've got a game coming, and he's under contract.
A little smile at the end. Marcus, with how publicly this is being handled, how do you think these seemingly daily comments from Jerry are impacting the locker room? It's nothing they hadn't seen before, but still.
Yeah, but Boogie, this is different. And I think bitterness is starting to set in between Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones, right? Both of them have their perspective of why the other one is being treated unfairly. And then ultimately I saw y'all play the clip and the reaction to what he said on the blue carpet about having to create this kind of drama and this scenario. So there's a lot of things that are affecting this locker room because it's not about football. This whole entire training camp has been about Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons. Every question I'm sure that these guys are getting. Let me ask y'all this. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Put everybody up on the camera for me, please. Everybody up on the camera.
Hey.
When's the last time y'all had a conversation about the Dallas Cowboys and their performance in training camp and what the players are doing? Have we had that discussion at all?
And Marcus, I mean,
has anybody talked about it?
I've been on this show a lot this offseason, as have all of us, right? And we haven't talked about that because we can't, because we're too busy talking about this. But maybe we should be talking about the fact that they got George Pickens there across from CD Lamb. You've got a healthy Dak Prescott. I don't know. You're right. Like, everything is about this.
But Boogie, that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. These players in this locker room are probably inundated with Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons. And I'm telling you, Hawk knows this as well as anybody. First of all, you're in training camp, so you're already in purgatory. All right, you're trying to get ready and get prepared for a season. You got a new coaching staff. You got new coaches trying to figure out who the talent is and how we're going to use them. Micah is unavailable, but the questions and the scenario and the narrative has nothing to do with football when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, which in line is the issue. And Boogie, you have said on TV with me a number of years, and I've had to argue with people that this actually affects the way that football is played for this football team, and nobody wants to seem to believe it until now when we hear Jerry say, I want to create some controversy because it keeps the Cowboys in the press.
You're spot on, Marcus. And I think, to your point, like the reason why these Cowboys teams fail to reach their potential is because of these unnecessary distractions. We are pounded into our head in football to eliminate unnecessary distractions. So with these comments from Jerry Jones and this whole saga with one of the best players in the game, at best it's pointless. At worst, it's actually detrimental. To your point, he comes from a very old school way of deal making, which is either I win or you win, and there's never a good middle ground. But the fact of the matter is, we go through this time after time with these players who have put the statistics up to earn the contract that they're talking about. He's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the game, period. Figure out the details to the deal, because there is no version of this where you walk away a winner. Actually, you run the risk of still signing a deal that you're going to have to pay for anyway, but now you have a player, to your point, Marcus, who is bitter, and now you're questioning, are you truly going to reach that full potential? Because now he feels a way about the organization that he's strapped it up for so long.
Yeah, on some level, it obviously reminds you of what he's gone through with Dak Prescott, with CD Lamb, etc. But to Marcus's point, this one does feel different. And Jerry Jones is kind of talking differently about this situation than he did about those last year. You know, he really believes, my understanding is Jerry really believes he had a deal done with Micah, a deal agreed to in the spring, and that Micah effectively backed out when he said, I'm going to run this all by my agent. So at this point, the Cowboys' stance, from what I've been told, is If Micah wants that deal we talked about in the spring, cool, great. We're happy to do it. If not, he has a contract. We can franchise him next year and the year after. We expect him to show up and play. That, to me, it does not paint the picture of a relationship that's in a good place.
Oof, it just feels like it's just going to keep getting messier and messier. The other thing, too, guys, as you guys know, Jerry has not won when he's gotten into these back and forths with these other guys. He's always ended up having to pay them more than he wanted to. And in this case, it's going to be that and then maybe some more. All right, let's get to some more top stories with some deals that still aren't done. Graz, what's the latest on Terry McLaurin?
Yeah, still no movement here. There's a big difference between what the team wants to pay him and what he wants to be paid. So he's out at practice. You see him here. He shows up at the end of practice, signs autographs. The fans chant his name. His agent is there. You see him talking to his agent there after practice. So it's been a fun show, but he hasn't been on the practice field, and we don't know when he will be. At this point, it's possible he plays out the last year of his deal for about $20 million. Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals scheduled to make about $16 million this year. No movement on this. When he got to camp, it seemed like there was a chance that they could work something out. They haven't. It's the same situation as it is with McLaurin, a 30-year-old player. The team is hesitant.